Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I have a holiday home decor piece. We're gonna make a Christmas card holder because it's so nice to display those cards you get in the mail, and sometimes it can be hard to find places to put them. Your mantle gets cluttered up, or maybe you're taping them over a doorway but they fall down. This is gonna be a wonderful way that won't damage the cards, that will let you display them. And we're actually gonna make a chalkboard slate so we can kind of make a countdown calendar as well. So it's just a fun idea. And another idea is you could actually use this as an advent calendar. You could clip little envelopes to the clothespins and have like a little surprise in each one. So lots of ideas for this. And one final idea would be actually just to have your kids stamp the clothespins and give little packages of clothespins to teachers, because it's so handy to have these to, you know, clip a bag of potato chips closed, or organize you know, pages in your planner, or even just clip papers together on your desk. It's just a fun, quick and easy, thoughtful gift that kids can make as well, even if you don't want to do the big slate that we're going to be doing. Oh, I want to let you know that you can use the coupon code PINS to save 10% off your order of mounted stamps at Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can find them at pegstamps.com. They're sponsoring this video, and I do thank them for their support. So I'm using one of the jumbo peg stamps. I like a stamp like this when I'm stamping on something that's not paper, because you want a really bold stamp, because things like wood or glass or anything like that, they're going to be less forgiving than just smooth paper. I didn't do anything to these clothespins, but I did make sure to choose ones that were fairly smooth and light colored. The back sides, like I'll look at both of them and I'll choose the side that's the clearest for stamping. I'm using a dark crisp green ink, and you just want to make sure you have something that's pretty bold, and I wouldn't go with anything that's like too pastel colored because it might not show up very well. And I'm just inking up and stamping, and you want to make sure that you give your ink plenty of time to make contact with the pins here. You can even turn your stamp if you need to. I'm pressing fairly firmly, but when you get to the end of the pins, you can't press too much or you just kind of open them up, so you just have to rely on holding them in place for a second. And sometimes you need to rock it a little bit on the end so that it does make contact. So go ahead and stamp as many pins as you're going to need. I'm going with about 15 for my slate. Now the slate that we're going to be using is a roofing slate, and you can usually find those when they're demoing old buildings. That's where I got mine. Sometimes you can find them at craft stores, especially craft stores that cater to toll painters. They usually have those, and I love the fact that you can recycle it, and I've got a whole bag of them because I found a building being demolished, and they gave me a bunch, so they're really handy. And the great thing about that is that I'm not going to have to put a chalkboard surface on it. I can use chalk right on the slate. You could also take a piece of plywood and you could paint it with chalkboard paint if you didn't have access to the slates. So you're going to set these aside for a moment and get your slate. This is a slate I have. I would reckon it's about 12 by 16. It's got a couple nail holes in it already because that's how it was attached to a roof. And I am going to use some of this really thick jute twine, or jute rope, to be my hanger. And you want to do that first. You don't want to get all your pins glued down and then try to get your hanger in there. And if you're having any problem threading the jute through, then you can always like take a little piece of Scotch tape and tape around the end, kind of like make it kind of like a shoelace, and put it through that way. Now I'm thinking that I'm probably going to have it like that, so I'm just going to tie the ends together, and that will be on the back. I can trim that later. So this is kind of how it's going to hang on my wall. I'll just make sure I have a really heavy duty hook. So now that I know it's going to hang like that, I can plan gluing down the pins. I'm going to try hot glue for this. If I find that it doesn't hold up as well as I had hoped, then I will just replace these with some like epoxy, but I think the hot glue will probably be fine. I am just going to I just want to make sure that I'm going to be putting these all in about the same level, and I want to make sure they're going to clip. Okay, and I also want to make sure I'm going to have plenty of room on the inside for putting my, for being able to write things. So what I'm going to do is just kind of space these out and see how I want them. And I can see that this is actually on there pretty good now that that's cooled. So I don't think I'm going to have a problem with my glue. So I'm just going to go ahead and start gluing these down. One thing I found really helpful was kind of using that kind of hinge, the little pin there on my clothespins to kind of line up to the edge of the slate. Now if you accidentally drip some glue onto your slate, let it dry. Don't try to wipe it off while it's wet or it's going to smear and make a hard time, and then you can peel it off. Just let it dry first, and because you're not pressing something into it, it shouldn't be bonding and getting into the crevices too much, so it should be fine. And yeah, I do find this kind of strong enough to hold all my pins, so I think that's going to work out really well. If you want to embellish the string anymore, you can use some other ribbons. I think burlap would look really well with this because it's earthy, and it happens to go with my decor in my living room. My living room is very kind of vintage looking, so that would go with that. Or you can just leave it plain, because once it's filled with cards, I think it's going to really be quite a big decoration. Now in the center, you should be able to write with regular chalk. Well, you can write with regular chalk, and you should be able to write with chalk markers as well. And I think I'll just do a little chalkboard art with some chalk markers and see how that looks. So then the kids can write in the day each day. There happens to be 24 pins around here, so it worked out perfect if you wanted to do an advent calendar. Just simply get an envelope, put some treats in it, and clip it. And you could use different kinds of treats, such as movie tickets, or you could put little small candy bars or lollipops or whatever you want. There's lots of different ways you can do that, and you can use it year after year. Then when you're tired of having the Christmas on there, or if you want to put something else different, like maybe you want to put a Christmas menu or whatever, you can simply wipe it off with a damp rag and go ahead and write something else. And I'm using a liquid chalk marker here. You can always use regular chalk. It doesn't really matter. With regular slate, it's pretty durable. If you're using a painted chalkboard surface, though, don't use the chalkboard markers because they will leave a ghost impression. So that's the only thing you want to worry about when you're using the chalk markers. I think this is a really fun project. Here you can see it on my wall and ready to receive cards. That reminds me, I better get my Christmas cards in the mail, so I'll get some in return to display. I love Christmas cards. It's part of my tradition ever since I was a little girl, helping my mother send out Christmas cards on Thanksgiving, and I always love seeing them come in the mail. I hope you found this project helpful, whether you're doing a Christmas card holder or an advent calendar or just some cool stamped pins to use for around your house or for gift giving. I hope you got some great ideas that you can take away from this video. Please check out our sponsor, Rubber Stamp Tapestry. You can find them online at pegstamps.com and use the coupon code PINS to save 10% off of your order of mounted stamps. I will have all of the details in the video description on that, as well as a supply list, so you can make this project too. And gosh, I don't think it really cost me more than a package of $1 clothespins and one really great stamp. And this is the Jumbo Holly, and I will have this linked out below as well. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you like this video. Until next time, happy crafting.